Laser sights enhance and maintain your accuracy in a time of crisis, preventing tunnel vision and allowing quick target acquisition in awkward shooting positions. Crimson Trace, making laser sight standard equipment. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free GunDealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email Tom at guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, back with you. 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. I'm Tom Gresham, by the way, because nobody else is nutty enough to do this. Almost 23 years doing this crazy stuff. Having fun talking about guns. If there's a gun you want to talk about, just give me a call. Love to have you. Just dial. It's easier just to do it with Tom Talk Gun. Forget all the numbers. Just dial Tom Talk Gun, and that'll get you in here. Now, you remember before the presidential election, I said, look, here's the deal. If Trump gets elected, and of course he did, we're not going to get everything we want, and we're not. We're going to get a few things. We're going to prevent Hillary Clinton from banning guns, which is the first time we'd ever had a presidential candidate, a major candidate at least, take as part of the key platform gun ban. Going to ban a large number of guns owned by law-abiding citizens. So we got rid of that, but we're not going to get everything we wanted out of this administration. And a case in point is something that's going on right now. And joining us to explain that is our friend Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Alan, thank you. We appreciate you letting us interrupt your Sunday.
Oh, Tom, for you, anytime, and your listeners are important, so I'm glad to reach out to them.
Well, I appreciate that. So explain, if you will, the Binderup case and what's going on here.
Well, it's actually Binderup / Suarez. It's two individuals that Second Amendment Foundation brought this case. We won it and ended up winning it in Bonk in the Third Circuit. And when Obama was still president, his Justice Department moved for cert to the Supreme Court to try to overturn our victory. And the Trump administration, the Justice Department has gone along with it to continue the appeal to the Supreme Court, which hopefully maybe on Tuesday we might hear that they're going to take or not take the case or whatever they do with it. But this is a case, first of all, of two individuals that had nonviolent misdemeanor convictions in Pennsylvania. And because the sentences could have been more than a year, the federal government treats it like it was a felony and won't ever restore their gun rights at this point. The appeals court in Bonk ruled that as applied, that law is unconstitutional, and these people can't lose their rights forever for a minor nonviolent crime. And so that's what we're at right now, and the Justice Department is appealing it. And for us, this is an interesting situation because, one, we'd hope the Justice Department wouldn't appeal it, so to speak, on one hand, because we'd like to keep the victory for our plaintiffs and restore their rights and have the precedent in the Third Circuit. But on the other hand, if it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court takes the case and rules our way, we now have a national precedent. So this is almost like and I think we win. I think we're going to win it. So for me, it's like a win-win situation to some extent. If the court doesn't take it, we win because we've already won at the appeals court in Bonk.
Right.
If they do take it, we have to argue before the Supreme Court and re-win the case. And so there is some risk there. I believe we'll win it. But I guess a lot of gun owners aren't exactly happy that the Trump administration has decided to continue with the Obama appeal of this case. And, a lot of people in the government, Tom, get this feeling that you've got to, quote unquote, try, when a law is knocked down by the courts, you've got to try to, keep the law in place. It's the government's obligation. And, of course, the conservatives and conservatives and Republicans tend to feel that way. Liberals, of course, don't. They just run roughshod over everything. So this is going to be interesting. We might hear on Tuesday.
Well, and also you have you got liberals, you got conservatives, and then you have longtime government employees, which are a party and an entity unto themselves, and they have to protect the status quo, which is their power. So there's a little bit of that going on there, too.
There's definitely a lot of that going on there. And this is an important case because, as you know, while there is a provision in federal law to get your rights restored, Chuck Schumer, when he was back in the House of Representatives and subsequently every year since, has blocked any of the funding to go to investigate people to restore their rights. So in effect, you don't get your due process. You can't get those rights ever restored, and the courts felt that, of course, is unconstitutional.
So what we have here, let me put a fine point on this. We have two people who were convicted of a misdemeanor, a minor misdemeanor, but it could have been, and here's the thing, even if they never even served a day in jail, even if it's a probation day, but if they could have been sentenced to more than a year, then the federal government treats that as the same as a felony, and you lose your gun rights forever. So the appeals court, first the lower court, and then the appeals court said, no, that's unconstitutional. The whole idea of the law was this was supposed to be you lose that right because of being convicted of a serious crime. This is not a serious crime. So they have undone that. So now now let me ask you this. Is it possible that under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice is going to defend the law, but not do such a great job of defending it?
I'd hope so. We don't know. We don't know till we get in court. But of course, we have Alan Gore as our attorney, who won the McDonald and Heller decisions at the U.S. Supreme Court. So we're prepared, right. And we're planning on winning this case. And again, winning it in the Third Circuit in Bonk, where you have a majority of Democrats that were on the panel as well, and we won it. I feel real confident we're going to win this Supreme Court. The advantage to that is we have a national precedent. So This could aid and abet us. So it's a two-edged sword maybe, but, I think it's a win-win for us one way or the other.
And you got a lot of things going on. You got things going on in California. I mean, you got a lot of lawsuits in the works right now.
Yeah, there's actually about 30 of them going on right now and about 20 on the drawing board.
Wow. Man, that's a lot going on. But now's the time. Strike while the iron is hot. If we can run some stuff all the way to the Supreme Court now, that's a good thing.
That's what we're trying to do and move it as quickly as possible. Trump now has his first appeals court judge that got confirmed as well. And it's a very pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, jurist. And we're going to get more and more of those every day. And so the courts are going to be starting to tip more and more in our favor. And that's why it's important for us now to bring these cases.
Okay, and just one reminder to everybody, the Gun Rights Policy Conference, the annual gathering of the who's who of the gun rights world, getting together in Dallas this year in September. If you go to the Second Amendment's website, Second Amendment Foundation, saf.org, all the information on GRPC is there. Alan's going to be there, and I'm going to be there, so we expect everybody else to be there too, right?
I sure hope so, and your listeners are more than welcome and encouraged to attend.
There you go. And, by the way, it's free. It's stunning, but it's free. Alan, I'm going to let you get back. I know what you were doing, and I can't believe that you took a break from it, so I'm going to let you get back to it.
Thank you very much, Tom. Have a great day.
All right, you take care. Yeah, if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. 866-TALK-GUN, or just dial Tom Talk Gun. Be right back.
The Springfield Armory SOCOM 16 CQB is a serious package of .308 firepower with a long military background. 10 inches shorter than the standard M1A with the standard 10-round or the optional 20-round magazine. It's a thunderous close-quarters battle rifle that stops, fights, fast. Ghost ring rear and tritium front sights with a 5-position adjustable cheek piece. The SOCOM 16 CQB is ready for anything. Springfield-Armory.com.
If you're like me, you don't have money to burn, but you still want to buy guns, ammo, and accessories. That's why we created GunDealio. That's a free smartphone app. Just download it and start getting the deals. Could be discounts, offers of free magazines for your gun, or you could be the first to hear about new stuff from gun makers. Here's how it works. With GunDealio on your phone, you get alerts when you enter a gun store. Special deals, You don't have to do a thing. It'll do a lot of other cool things, like let you watch gun videos and listen to Gun Talk podcast. Plus, check it anytime for hundreds of deals and offers. Getting more while spending less. Smart, huh? GunDealio. Made in America. gluten-free at the App Store and Google Play or GunDealio.com.
Your guns are hungry. They crave lead, feast on recoil, and are ravenous for performance. On the menu, Aguila Ammunition's complete line of rimfire, centerfire, and shot shells. Each and every round of Aguila ammunition is made with the highest quality of materials and crafted to ensure optimal reliability, accuracy, and proficiency. Visit AguilaAmmo.com and let the feeding frenzy begin. Aguila Ammunition. Feed your firearm.
Let's go to the phones. By the way, if you'd like to join us, 866-TALK-GUN. Fred is on 3 out of Mississippi. Fred.
Hey, Tom.
Stolen
how
guns?
You doing?
What's the? I'm good. What's the concern here?
This is a question. I brought this up to even a congressman, and he couldn't give me a good idea why or why not. And other people, and I've called in a few radio talk shows and talked about it, but the radio people say that's a good idea, but nothing's ever come of it. This is my question. Old folks, like me, I'm 75, and I've been, collecting guns, and once I get a gun, I usually don't get rid of it, but it's been quite a few years I got a few guns. This is a question. I was wondering what you thought about having a national call-in anonymous serial number check to see if a gun in possession has been stolen or reported stolen. And, you could have a repository where you could drop it off in a locked vault somewhere, slide down a cement pipe down 40 feet below where nobody could steal them, and just turn in, because no honest gun owner wants to have in their possession a stolen gun. And,
all right, let me back up. I'm trying to understand here, Fred. Are you... At first, I thought you were wanting this so that if you were buying a gun, you could find out if that gun had been stolen, so you could find out whether or not to buy it. But it doesn't sound like that's what your concern is here.
Oh, no, because there's lots of people that have guns, and you had them for 40, 50 years, and now you don't even remember where they come from. Because back when I was a teenager growing up, they had, like, swap shows you could call in.
Sure.
And people be selling guns. You said, well, that's a good deal. You go buy it. You don't even remember where it come from.
So but you're thinking maybe the concern is you may actually own a gun that's stolen and not know it, is what you're thinking.
Well, I'm saying not me. Well, it's possible, but there's millions of people that probably is in this asking the same question. Because I can't be the only one that has to have that going through my mind. But honest,
well, I got several thoughts on that. Let me jump in. Obviously, there is a list of stolen guns. We don't have access to it. Law enforcement does, though.
Yeah.
There's also a website. I've never been there before. I just found it, called hotguns.com. It's G-U-N-Z, hotguns with a Z.com. But it says they've got 14,000 stolen guns in a database. I can't believe that's all of them by any means, so I don't think that's going to be complete. And also, I don't know who these guys are, and I'm not sure I want to be throwing my serial numbers into a database search that they have. So, because they could link the serial number to the IP address, so I'm not sure I trust that. It's not a bad idea, actually, as I think about it, if there would be some way for us to throw in a serial number and have it, go through the national database of stolen guns that the police use and find out, okay, is this gun that I'm thinking about buying stolen, or is this gun that I've owned for years, was it ever stolen? That kind of a deal. So it's interesting. And I got to tell you, I have never actually heard anybody talk about that. So I think it's something we ought to look into. I'm going to ask some of the smart people I hang around with, because I'm not smart, but I do hang around with smart people, what they think of it, and if there's some way that we could make that happen. Or the other part of that is sometimes they'll say, well, no, we can't do that because, and they bring up something that I never thought of. But I'll see what I can find out, Fred. It's an interesting idea. I appreciate that. Thank you for your call. Let me just jump on that for a second, because here's another part of that. I guess maybe you could call it the flip side. If any of your guns were stolen, would you be able to give the police a serial number of that gun? I'm not a record keeper. I don't keep receipts. And people say, oh, yeah, you got to keep receipts. Well, I don't. If they say, well, do you have a receipt for that gun? Nope, probably not. But you ought to have at least some kind of record of all your guns and scopes and binoculars and all that stuff that's expensive and has serial numbers on it. It could be you just sit down and make a list. You got your big chief writing pad, and you sit down and work with your wife or a friend, and you take them out of the safe, and what is it, and write it down. Another way to go, if you want it to be easier, and man, it's never gotten easier, because I used to say, well, you can buy or you can borrow somebody's video camera. Well, we're all carrying a video camera in our pockets these days, aren't we? Oh, man, it's so easy. It's stupid. It's so easy. Get your phone out. Run the video. Run the video of the gun. Lay it on a table. Here it is. This is a Winchester Model 70 in 30-06, and I've got this gun from my grandfather, blah, blah, blah. You're talking while you're shooting the video. And then you pick the gun up, you say, and the serial number is blah, 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 blah. Okay? It's got a loophole scope on it. It's a 3 to 9, and the serial number on that is blah, blah, blah. And you're just talking all this information into the video. And you could do a long video for a bunch of them. You could do one video for each gun if you wanted to, and then save them, to the cloud, which you can do quite easily. And that way, should anything happen, and it may be nothing more than the house burns down. Not that that's not a big deal, but we think about stolen guns, but if it got lost, if it got stolen, if it got the place burned up, and you want a record for insurance purposes, if nothing else, you got all that stored on the cloud. You look at it, you go, the video, oh yeah, that was the such and such. You would be amazed at how many things you forget. While you're at it, I'm just going to throw this out, while you are at it, here is a 30-minute exercise that could be enormously helpful. Talk to anybody who's ever had a house burned down. One of the big challenges is, okay, sit down right now and write down everything that's in your house. What? Yeah. You can't remember. Get that phone out. Go into every room, roll video, or just take a picture of each wall. Just stand in the middle, turn 4 directions, take a picture. Click, 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 click. Okay, every room, and then go into every closet, same thing. The garage, storeroom, everything. Lawnmowers. You'd be amazed how much stuff we acquire. Hunting equipment, 4-wheelers, tree stands, bags of decoys, boats, goes on and on. If you've ever, and I'd love to hear from anybody who's ever had a situation like that, had a house burn or something stolen, you didn't have the records, and what you can offer in terms of that. I just think that having that record easily accessible, and that's the other part. Oh yeah, where'd I put that? Oh, it was in the house. You mean it was in the house that burned down? Yeah, that's where my list is. Okay, let's examine that thought. The cloud. If you have an iPhone, you have cloud drive, what is it called? Mac Cloud something. Everybody's got something. There's some way to store stuff off-site is really what we're talking about. It's interesting. You think about, I don't really have that much. And then you start looking at it and you go, well, if you've had a home for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or however many years, you got more stuff than you can imagine. Just more stuff than you can imagine. Steve's got a thought on that online, too, out of Texas. Steve, documenting everything. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to encourage people to, like you were talking about, to take a photograph. Not only make a hard copy of the serial number, but also take a photograph and, just a regular old style photograph and keep that. And the reason is because you want photos of your weapons because it has distinguishable marks on a lot of other weapons that, other ones might not have. Like the niche in the butt of the gun where I dropped it at the gun range one day. Distinguishable scratches from pulling from my holster and things like that. They can help identify a stolen weapon.
Sure. Have you ever had a loss or had a need for something like that?
Excuse me, sir?
Have you ever had a loss, had a gun stolen or anything, where you had to identify a gun?
No, sir, but my father did. He had a bunch of weapons one time, and I was young. And the shotguns and rifles, and man, they got like 8 or 9 of them, and he couldn't identify them for anything. So when I was a young kid, I experienced that, and I said, I don't want that to happen to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other part of that is, those of us who are a little older, we're used to thinking of pictures as a print, and a print is also something that can burn up or get lost. And I go back to the whole idea of just using your phone, man. The camera on the phone is good these days. Take the pictures and save them to the cloud so that you can access them from another device or another time, no matter what. So just a thought. Right, Steve, I appreciate that thought. David's on 3 out of Jacksonville, Oregon. Hey, David.
Hey, Tom.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to modify what you just got through saying about the video and taking them with your cell phone. Mm-hmm. I would just go down and buy yourself a halfway decent camera phone, or not a camera, and take all the pictures individually of the rifles and serial number and the scope and serial number. And then if you want to do a little video at the end of, and a good time to do that is in your annual cleaning when you go through and clean all your guns.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and then you want to, tell you what, let's we can hold David over. He was getting to his point there. 866-TALK-GUN. David, don't go anywhere. We're going to let you finish out your thought here when we come back here. I apologize for that. 866-TALK-GUN will get you here. Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk. We'll be right back.
Gun Talk encourages you to support the local sporting goods store, gun stores, ATV dealers, and other local businesses in your area who advertise on this station and Gun Talk. Only together can we protect our rights. You're listening to Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
All righty, back with you. Hey, we were talking with David when we had to go to the break here, and David's out of Oregon. Had a thought about, we're talking about documenting your guns, taking pictures of them, video, whatever, and I was talking about putting them in the cloud. But David, you had another thought on that of a way to go.
Yeah, first of all, I don't trust the cloud, but if you probably do an annual cleaning on all your firearms, it's a good time to do that. Take a picture of the rifle, take a picture of the serial number. That way you get an overall condition, too, if you take a picture of the whole weapon. Then take a picture of the serial number on the scope, and then keep that if you do that. If you buy a small camera, you've got a SD card in it, and you can take that SD card out and not worry about if you have a fire in your house. Oh, I got to remember my phone because it's got all my information on it. You've got it right there, and that same SD card, if that camera has video capability, you could you pan each room in your house, and then take a picture of each section of your bookshelf too, so you know what exactly books are.
Good point. And obviously, you want to store that SD card somewhere outside of the home in case the whole place burns.
Outside the house. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have detached garages and someplace outside the house. So
I wouldn't do that either. I would put it. If I were going to keep it outside the house, I'm going to keep it in a safe somewhere. It's going to be in a safe deposit box or something. Just because if the house burns, the detached building could burn. Something, who knows? But if, I'm a belt and suspenders kind of guy, I would probably do cloud and the SD card in a safe deposit box. So, but the overall point here, and I appreciate you hanging with me on making that, is to somehow document them because stuff happens, places burn, places get broken into. People steal guns and scopes, and if you don't have pictures and records of it, you really don't know how much you had in there. And it's hard to remember everything you own when the whole place goes down. Just hope it doesn't happen to you. But once again, we're always talking about being prepared for everything, right? All right, switching on you. There are not a lot of gun writers that I read. Just the way it is. I've been in the business long enough. I've read everybody. But one of the guys that I read pretty much everything he does is John Barsness. He joins us right now. Hey, John, how are you, my friend?
Good. How are you doing, Tom?
I am well. I think the reason that I like reading your stuff is that because you and I agree on most things, so it reinforces all my prejudices.
Yeah. Well, that's. I found that's the trick to good gun writing. You just make everybody believe that you think the same thing they do.
That's so true. Exactly true. Case in point. And why is it that as we get older, we realize that we don't need magnums to shoot stuff?
Well, I think there's two good reasons. One is they hurt too much as we get older. And the other one is that the bullets are so much better these days.
True. And also, we also find that, you know what, if you put the bullet where it's supposed to go, you're going to get your deer or your elk or your moose regardless. So, get you something in that medium level of 6 millimeter to 30 caliber, non-magnum, and put it where it's supposed to go and don't worry about it.
Yep, that's the biggie.
Pretty much it. Yeah. All right, so I've got a copy of your Looney book, your Rifle Looney book. You've got the Rifle Looney News now, which is a membership deal. What is that?
Well, it's basically an online quarterly magazine. Okay. My wife Eileen likes to call it a newsletter. I call it a magazine. We write it. Occasionally, we have somebody else come in and do a little something for it. But she started our website about a decade ago and decided that it was time to go directly to the readers, not just with publishing our own books, but writing our own magazine. And so it's a combination. She writes a lot about. She does game cookbooks, so she writes a lot about game cooking in it and things like that. And I mostly write about guns and hunting, so I write about that. But there's some crossover. She knows a lot about guns and hunting, too, and I do some cooking occasionally. But we mostly write about stuff that's, people who hunt and shoot like.
And you got the website riflesandrecipes.com, which is a great name. And you got the books on there and the newsletter / magazine on there. Let me ask you, as a gun writer but a hunting guy, what developments have you seen over the last 5 to 10 years that you think are interesting in terms of what's out there in the way of gear?
God. The biggie, I think, that changed everything was the laser rangefinder. And that made hitting at longer ranges easier, which led to the whole trend in long-range shooting and the scopes. Various new reticles and the scopes that can be adjusted in the field for elevation. It was a real game changer because we could actually know how far it was to an animal instead of guessing.
That was the whole deal. Is back before we had the laser rangefinders, and I would tell people, I said, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a hunting guide who spent all their time out there. When we first started getting the laser rangefinders, and I know you did the same thing, you would ask your guide, say, how far is that? He said, it's about 400 yards. And you put the rangefinder on it, and he'd be off by 100 yards or more. Well,
yeah, sometimes it'd be 100% off, One thing I did when I guided is I used, this was a long time ago, back before laser rangefinders, I used my scope's reticle as a rangefinder. And you can do that if animals are reasonably similar in size.
Right.
I did it mostly with pronghorn hunting, but also did it with deer and elk. But even then, it's only going to do you any usable amount of good out to about 500 yards, and usually less. It's just not accurate enough to put the bullet right where you want to, which is what we were just talking about for clean kills.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah. And so I think the whole laser thing is the big change.
Okay. I'm old school. Been hunting a long time before lasers. The whole long-range shooting at critters thing turns me off. I mean, people are shooting stuff at 800 to 1,200 yards.
Right.
Have you changed how far you think is a reasonable shot if you have a good rest because of the gear, and what is that distance for you? Not
much, partly because I had, as I said, I'd used my reticles for so long. I still tend to limit it to 500-yard max and maybe a little shorter, depending on the animal. And I have gone on hunts where I had my scope all dialed in out to 600 or 700 yards, and every time I've done that, I've made the shot at something like 163.
Because that's where it was.
Yeah, that's where the animal was. And so, I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I'm not one to go out and look to make the longest shot possible. Let's put it that way.
I guess that's my thing. Is people who say, well, they'll pass up the short shot to make the long shot. And I go, well, that's just, all you're doing is saying that I'm going to put this animal at greater risk of being wounded and not make a good, clean kill on it. I just don't think that's right.
Yeah, and the big problem, especially out where I live in the West, is the wind. You don't know what's going to happen with the wind precisely. I'm very good at judging it. I've got an anemometer and all that sort of thing. But by the time a bullet travels 700 or 800 yards, the wind can come from several different directions and speeds.
Exactly.
And I do a lot of long range shooting on steel. And I do a lot of long-range shooting at prairie dogs and other small varmints. But I just don't get into it. Yeah, you get real good at it.
Yeah, you do. All right, John, look, the website is riflesandrecipes.com. You can subscribe to the Rifle Looney News. It's only $8, for heaven's sakes. And grab those books because they are all really good. John and Eileen do a wonderful job with them. I really recommend them. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. Riflesandrecipes.com. All right, we'll be right back with more gun talk.
Hardcore tactical professionals who put their lives on the line every day depend on Surefire. For decades, Surefire has built the first and finest professional-grade flashlights, weapon-mounted lights, hearing protection, and suppressors. We build the best because lives depend on it, and we know failure is not an option. We design, engineer, and manufacture Surefire products right here in the U.S. For you, for your loved ones, Surefire. American built, American strong. Surefire.com.
When someone leaves you their gun collection, you may want a few, but what do you do with the rest? How do you sell them? Who do you call? Well, I call Johnny Dury at Dury's Guns. Whether you're selling one gun or 500, they'll tell you what it's worth and write you a check. Simple, quick, easy, fair. I trust Dury's Guns. Give them a call. Dury'sGuns.com.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Legends aren't born legendary. They are proven legendary. Like the new FN 509 handgun. A direct result of over 1 million rounds of testing and a direct descendant of over 125 years of legendary FN firearms. The world's most battle-proven firearms. The FN 509. A legend in the making. Find out more at fnamerica.com.
If you'd like to join us, it's 866-TALK-GUN or Tom Talk Gun. Either one will get you in here. By the way, we start releasing the new episodes of First Person Defender, our online digital TV show, video show, whatever it is. It's fascinating stuff. Using simunitions, we put people into self-defense situations where they witness an attack, they may be attacked, could be a carjacking, could be a robbery, could be whatever. You never know. We actually had one where we tried to steal this lady's child. And see what they do. They have a gun. One of the things we find often is that when you have a gun, you think the solution is going to be a gun. And often the solution is not the gun. And it usually takes 1 or 2 or 3 tries at the scenario to figure out, oh, if all I have is a hammer, maybe everything is not a nail. Line 2, Dave is with us out of Pace, Kansas. Dave, thank you so much for your patience. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call. Just wanted to kind of elaborate on a point you brought up earlier about with shooting with lasers and self-defense shooting and how many people rarely are known to look at their sights. I'm a paramedic, and I spent 12 years working with our local SWAT team providing tactical medical support. And a lot of times when we do training with them, if they do simunitions training, and me and another medic, we'd play, a lot of times play bad guy for them. And I have numerous scars on what was normally my gun hand from simunitions, where I feel that even for the professionals, their gun follows what their eyes are looking at, and they see a gun, they're looking at the gun, and they shoot my gun hand more often and as much as they'd shoot center mass.
Absolutely, and it's true in real world shootings too. When there's 2 people with guns, people get shot in the hands a lot because that's where people are looking. They're looking at that gun.
Yeah, and I've got a couple guns I've got laser sights on, and I still primarily shoot with my iron sights with those. So I had developed I want to try and develop the muscle memory that in low light situations I've got the gun up in position, and it makes it easier to find that dot on the target than if I'm just looking down range looking for a dot.
I think you should do. Here's what I do. It's a small thing, but I think it's important. You can sight in with your laser, of course. You can adjust your laser. I adjust my laser so that when I am shooting at a target with my iron sights, I cannot see the laser. It is below the front sight. So at a distance of, say, 10 or 15 yards, the laser is an inch or 2 below the front sight where I'm actually aiming. And that way, when I'm using my iron sights, I don't even see the laser. I'm going to the iron sights. But if the conditions are such that I can't see my iron sights, where it's low light, for instance, or if I'm just focused hard on somebody who's trying to kill me, my head's popped up, I'm looking over the sights. And in a dark situation, if you bring your gun up and you can't see your sights, your head's going to pop up like a groundhog, boom. And then you're going to go, oh, laser, boom, I'm there, put laser on, press trigger, deal with problem. So I think sighting in so that the laser's just below your point of aim, what you're seeing with your sights, so that you go, just as you said, the iron sights are primary in those situations where you can see them. But if you can't see them or something draws your eye to the threat, your head will pop up and you will see the laser. I think it's a good system. Dave, thank you for your call. I appreciate that. That's very good information. That's real world information right there. Yes, I know. If you put a laser on it, depending on what kind you get, you may have to get a new holster. I know. But, Crimson Trace has a deal. You can buy the laser and you can get a holster with it, new packages for your particular gun. That's pretty cool, too. Just a thought. Light, laser, it's all tools. Get them, but mostly train with them. Get instruction with them. Be right back. Back with you. 866-TALK-GUN gets you in. James has called in from Mississippi on 4. James, you have the floor.
Hey, Tom. I was calling in response to an earlier caller that had an idea for a national stolen gun hotline or something to that effect. And here in my state, I understand his concerns. You know, I've collected guns over the years and stuff. But what I have used in the past was in my state, the firearm division, which is where you go to get your permits for concealed carry and all that. You can call them if you have a serial number for a gun, and they can run it through basically just about instantly. Well, I'll say I got a response the last time I called within a minute where I told them I was considering purchasing a firearm from an individual who I knew at the time anyway, but I didn't know the background of the gun. And they gave me a response right over the phone that the gun had no history. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the gun had not been stolen. If it had been stolen like the day before, maybe it wouldn't have a history on it. But the thing is, he can use that as a tool. You know, if he's got any question about any kind of guns that he has, I didn't hear where he was calling from, so I don't know. Different states I know are different about who handles firearm transfers and all that kind of thing, and or just the tracking of them. But here in Mississippi, you go to the Mississippi Highway Patrol, and they have a firearm division, and that's semi-connected with the FBI. They've got agents there all the time. Okay. And so that might be something good that he can use, you know, or think about. And I've enjoyed your show
James,
today.
Here's what's interesting, James, is that he was in Mississippi also, so I know he can use that system. And I've gotten word from other people who say that in various states you can do that. So if you can find out who, you might even start with state police and say, look, who would I contact about that? But that's very interesting info. James, look, I appreciate the call, sir. That would be a helpful tool. And people who are not into guns are thinking, well, what's the whole deal? Well, a lot of us buy used guns. We trade guns, we swap guns, we horse trade. And because unlike lawnmowers and a lot of other stuff, guns last a long time. It's not at all unusual to have a gun that's 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 years old. And you're buying it from a person, and this may be the 10th person to own this gun. And if you had a concern, if you said, you know, I would just feel better if I knew this wasn't going to show up on the stolen gun database. Because here's the thing. Even if you have a stolen gun, you are in possession of stolen property. Now, you may not get charged, but you lose your gun. I mean, you're not going to get reimbursed on your purchase. Besides that, you don't want to be involved in something like that. So it's just an interesting idea. I'm trying to think. I've never done anything like, used that database, never called. Have you ever done that? Have you ever called in, check with somebody to see if the gun you're thinking about buying is stolen? Or is it something you never think about? I'm curious to know how many people are actually concerned about that, if it is a thing, or is it one of those things where we're making it more than it actually is? I don't know. Also, the prices on guns right now are stupidly low, just amazingly good. People are buying guns like crazy. When we come back, we'll talk about one of the modifications you can do to your gun. That's kind of an interesting idea. Maybe with the money that you saved, you can modify your gun. Oh, it's like free mods. I mean, people are buying handguns for $100, $150 less than they were selling for 6 months ago. And rifles, holy smoke. I mean, we're seeing some crazy, crazy prices. If you like guns and you're not buying now, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. In fact, what are you buying? Are you thinking about buying or have you bought? Let me know. 866-TALK-GUN. I'd love to know where you're putting your money these days. All right, I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.